your hands off Peachtree-Pine. Being poor is not a crime. Keep your hands off Peachtree-Pine. Being poor is not a crime. Keep your hands off Peachtree-Pine. Being poor is not a crime. Keep your hands off Peachtree-Pine.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you everybody for being here to prove your support and your solidarity with the task force, but most of all with the residents of Peachtree-Pine and the 15,000 people who use this place to save themselves during this last year. So the people who are here temporarily, but every year we have a minimum of 15,000 different people coming through these doors. We have to save this building. This building is emergency shelter and respite and a way home. Many people here call this place a lifeline, and we have many of them today to speak to us. Let me ask Joe Beasley to begin with. Joe Beasley is our immediate past chairman of our board. Joe Beasley is here with the Rainbow Push Coalition and with the Task Force for the Homeless Board. Joe.
Thank you, Anita, and to all of these leaders that has assembled in support of the men that live here at Peachtree-Pine, their home. We know that over the last 10 years that there's been really a conspiracy on the part of the City of Atlanta, the Central Atlanta Progress, the United Way, to really use racketeering to stop the funding to this building, which we're entitled to based on who live here. And so I think all of this is going to come out in court. I'm going to limit my remarks to the fact that I guess for the last 15, even before we moved in this building, the powers that be was always talking about, let's sanitize Peachtree Street. Another way of putting it, let's get this black men scum off of Peachtree Street. It's a street of commerce. Nobody wanted to bring it down to the racial dimension, but that really is the bottom line. That Peachtree Street is a street of commerce. All of these poor black men scare the people. It stymies the business and so forth. But I wouldn't believe that the length that our former mayor went to, along with the Central Atlanta Progress, United Way. I call it racketeering. Okay. And I think somebody should go to jail. But I'm going to maybe it's just stop there. And the reason why I feel so deeply and strongly about it, because I'm from Georgia. I'm from down in Fayette County. And when we were pushed off of the plantation, I was living on a plantation, many of us pushed into housing in Atlanta. And many of us really never had a home. So many of these men here, descendants of slaves, never really had a real home. And so, since I can feel personally the pain, I'm going to fight till the deal goes down, whatever that is. If I ever go to jail, I'm going to jail. If I stay in jail, I'll stay in jail. But this is the most holy, I think, spiritual place that we have here in Atlanta. And I'm glad to see people like Reverend McDonald here, standing here, Reverend, our President of the Concerned Black Clergy, standing here, and on and on. And thank you all for being here. And we did just elect B. Wardlaw as the chair of the board. And I might add this little piece. I remember when his sainted mother, who is going on now, had to go to heaven, Mrs. Wardlaw, said, we're going to buy this building for you all, but I'm sick and tired of hearing this thing about sanitizing Peachtree Street. She said, Peachtree Street is for everybody. And so she bought the building and gave it to the Task Force for the Homeless. And so Ms. Wardlaw, who is looking down from heaven, we just elected her son to carry on the leadership of this building. And so we're going to fight because justice and righteousness is on our side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Jim Beatty is going to come and give us the reason we're here. Jim.
I don't know of any literature that better states the thievery that has gone on in the last 3 years of this building than the Hebrew prophets. And much better than I could ever say it, I want to read just 2 verses from the book of Micah. Say Micah. We mentioned these wonderful ministers that are here with us. I wonder if we have any ministers or rabbis from the synagogues and churches along Peachtree. Are any of you here? Would you lift your hand? Any of the Presbyterians, any of the Baptists, any of the Lutherans, any of the Methodists from Peachtree Street? Are you here? Well, God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. I'll be in your church Sunday, my brother. I want to read Micah 1 and 2. Micah 2, verses 1 and 2. Listen carefully, please, to the prophet's words. I didn't say this. B. Wardlaw didn't say this. A Hebrew prophet said this. How terrible it will be for you who lie awake at night thinking up evil plans. You rise at dawn and hurry to carry out any of the wicked schemes you have power to accomplish. When you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. No one's family or inheritance is safe with you around. That's Micah 2, the first 2 verses. God bless you, everyone.
Thank you. And now I want to ask the Reverend Timothy McDonald, who's been with us in all of the struggles, from struggling against foreclosures in the leadership of the Atlantans Against Foreclosure Coalition to the Grady Coalition, and with us here in this facility at every call. Brother McDonald.
My friends, I'm honored to be here today to stand in solidarity with our homeless brothers and sisters. Today, Atlanta should be ashamed of itself for the assault upon the poor, particularly in this economy, when we are creating new faces of homeless all throughout Atlanta and metropolitan Atlanta.
That's right.
The Task Force for the Homeless has been a place where men could come and could gather together, could eat, could fellowship, could form bonds. We will not sit idly by while greed, corruption, and deception tries to sanitize Peachtree-Pine corridor. We will not sit idly by and allow the powers that be to push down further those who have already been pushed down far enough. So we're sending a message loud and clear to those who think that we are invisible, to those who think that we're just going to cow down and run away, that we are not going to run away. We are going to stay at Peachtree and Pine, and you got to do whatever you have to do to get us out of here, because we are committed to being in solidarity with our brothers. For them, this is home, and we will not allow you to take away their home. We will stand to the very last drop. We will stand to the very last breath to protect the integrity of the Task Force for the Homeless and our brothers who live here at Peachtree-Pine. 15,000 people come here. And for them, this is home. You wouldn't want anybody coming in and taking away your home. And why should we allow you to come and take our home? I remember Imperial Hotel. They don't want us to talk about the Imperial Hotel, where we seized it. We lived there. We fed each other there. We prayed there. We sang there. We will do what we have to do. If this has to be Imperial Hotel 2, then let it be so, because we know that justice is on our side. That truth is on our side. That righteousness is on our side. And that God is on our side. Because God will not sit idly by and allow the kind of shenanigans that have gone on in City Hall, Central Atlanta Progress, the Chamber of Commerce, the United Way, to continue to push out God's children. We are all God's children, and we have rights too. We have rights. And today, we send a message that we're going to stand up for our rights. And to you, my homeless brothers and sisters, I say to you, you're not alone. Don't you for one moment believe that you're going to be fighting this battle by yourself. Because the clergy of Atlanta, many of whom have already been watching this shenanigans, have already pledged their solidarity with you. We will be here, and whatever is necessary, we will do. As Amos says, until justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Here at Peachtree-Pine, we take our stand. We take our stand at Peachtree-Pine. God bless you.
All right. And now we want to hear from an attorney who has pled for the patients at Grady Hospital, who's taken the case of residents of the Atlanta Housing Authority, and now is standing in solidarity with us to explain to you how we are bringing these legal issues to the attention of the federal courts and federal HUD. This is Attorney Lindsey Jones, who's been a hero for us in the Grady issue and in the struggle to fight against the foreclosure, the fight against the demolition of 3,200 units of housing at a time when homelessness is at an all-time high in Atlanta. Please welcome Lindsey Jones.
First of all, it's hard to speak after you just heard a speech like you just did. So I'm going to be reading from a script without a lot of emotion, but please bear with me. I just want to give you a summary of what's happened thus far. On May 6, 2010, the Metro Task Force for the Homeless filed a sweeping fair housing discrimination complaint with the U.S. Department of HUD, or U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, against the City of Atlanta, Central Atlanta Progress, and the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District. The complaint sets forth very serious allegations. Specifically, the complaint alleges that the City, Central Atlanta Progress, the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District conspired to and engaged in a pattern and practice of retaliation against the task force for its fair housing advocacy on behalf of homeless African American men. The complaint further alleges that the City of Atlanta falsely certified its compliance with its obligation to affirmatively further fair housing choice, which is a condition of it receiving federal funds earmarked for housing and community development. Indeed, the complaint requests HUD to withhold the distribution of nearly $22 million in federal funds to the City of Atlanta until the alleged wrongful and illegal conduct set forth in the allegations is corrected. Namely, that the injuries resulting to the task force are fully redressed, and the City of Atlanta comes into compliance with its obligations to affirmatively further fair housing choice within its jurisdiction. The injuries to the task force include, as alleged in the complaint, having its funding illegally cut off through the malicious conduct of the City Central Atlanta Progress, and the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District, threatened with being driven out of downtown Atlanta through the illegal and malicious conduct of the city, Central Atlanta Progress, and the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District, through which conduct the city, Central Atlanta Progress, and the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District maliciously and illegally sought to forcibly remove 600 to 1,000 predominantly homeless African American men, many with disabilities, from finding shelter and refuge in the downtown area of Atlanta. Now, this complaint was filed on behalf of the task force by the Washington, D.C. law firm of Railman, Dane, and Colfax, which recently successfully convinced HUD to withhold $1.7 billion in federal funding from the state of Texas for similar complaints regarding fair housing. In the fall of 2009, the same law firm successfully exposed Westchester County in the state of New York to a liability of $150 million, which was subsequently resolved by a settlement in which the county set aside $62 million to establish new affordable housing in areas where there was an exclusion of affordable housing. This fair housing discrimination complaint filed by the task force last week will be pursued in the same manner as these two other complaints. Now, this controversy presents the public with an opportunity for transparency and open examination of the allegations concerning the City of Atlanta, Central Atlanta Progress, and the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District. This has not been possible to date because of the sphere of influence exercised by the City of Atlanta, Central Atlanta Progress, and the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District. The task force looks forward to a full and thorough investigation of its allegations against the City of Atlanta, Central Atlanta Progress, and the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District. It is confident, based on the discovery of information and evidence resulting from a pending parallel action in federal district court for the Northern District of Georgia, that HUD will take immediate action to address the injuries sustained to date by the task force and to ensure that the City of Atlanta complies with its obligations to affirmatively further fair housing choice going forward. That being said, the task force hopes that upon all the concerned parties' reflection, that an efficient and amicable conciliation can be achieved. Thank you. That's all I have to say at this point. If there are any questions later on about the technical aspects of the pending complaint with HUD, I'd be happy to address those. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. We want everybody to know that this pattern and practice of exclusion and prejudice and controlled privatization of public space culminated in this lawsuit and in this foreclosure that was perpetrated on the task force at the same time that the so-called new owner was in negotiations for a forbearance agreement. So we believe there are legal impediments to that foreclosure, and we are in the process of challenging those impediments as well. Thank you. Now I want you to hear from a resident of Peachtree-Pine and also a co-worker here. No one here at this place gets paid, and no one has been paid for over a year, and so we work together to manage the facility and keep it operating, and we have not missed one day, 1 hour of offering service to our brothers and sisters who need a safe place to be until they can get to the next step in their lives. And those 15,000 people did get to the next step in their lives. And there will be 15,000 more given the rate of foreclosure in the city. Last Tuesday, when our building was foreclosed on, 2,000 other properties were foreclosed on the steps of the Fulton County Courthouse. We are one of the top 3 foreclosure cities in the nation, and we cannot, somebody said today, how can they foreclose on us? We're homeless. So we are saying we will not give up, we will not leave this facility, it belongs to the people, and we have had no legal information that this ownership has been transferred to anyone else at this point. Now let us hear from Solomon Ebba, who is a co-worker with me and many other people to keep this place going. Solomon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. I'm here representing all the men and women that have used this place. And the word is solidarity. We are not moving. We're not going anywhere. We're going to fight for our building. This is our home. Everybody should know this is our home. And I'm fighting for everybody. Much as Miss Anita's fighting and everybody behind me, I appreciate you. We thank you, all the clients, all the men. My job here is placement. I find homes for people who need residential homes, emergency homes, and transitional homes. We placed 15,000 men and women last year, found them homes. And we intend to continue doing this with God's help, with everybody's help, with my brother's help, because they're the ones who are homeless. We are the ones who are homeless, and we need this as our home. Thank you very much.
All right, now we want to hear from Reverend Dr. Richard Cobble, who is the president of Concerned Black Clergy. Reverend Cobble.
I am the Reverend Dr. Richard Cobble, president of Concerned Black Clergy of Metro Atlanta. I certainly appreciate you having us here to speak on behalf of our officers and our 100 and 150 churches that makes up our organization. What I have heard, that means that we must invite the Federal Department of Justice, all right, that's right, to come in and do a full-scale investigation on all the legality that has led up to this foreclosure. Peachtree-Pine is one of the main victims of foreclosure that runs rapid in this city and throughout this state and throughout this nation. And we cannot afford to go along with the works that's being done to shut this place down. I call upon all of our religious organizations, all of our pastors, all of our imams, and all of our rabbis, that we must assemble and render justice to the people who has been rendered injustice to. I call upon the folk in Atlanta. This is not the end, but only the beginning of what is to come in this city. If you don't believe me, meet me over at I-85 and the Cascade Road this coming Saturday at 8:30. Where we're going to be marching down Cascade in the name of health, because this affects our health. That's right. And we must let the folk know that we ain't going to take it no more. There's three kinds of power: God's power, people power, and money power. It is the money power that has corrupted this state. It is the money power that has corrupted our government. It is the money power that has corrupted those individuals who come in and take homes from individuals and make them home. Homelessness is the result of the way we do business in this city, in this state, and throughout this nation. In 2005, there was approximately 6,000 homeless folk in the city of Atlanta. Today, as we speak, there's approximately 30 to 35,000 people of homelessness, and they were made homeless by the foreclosure mess in this city, in this state, and across this nation. And we ought to tell the folk we ain't gonna take it no more. And so we call upon the Justice Department to look into the irregularities that led up to this foreclosure and let the people know that God hears the cries of the people, and we must stand together to make sure they never forget. Let's give God a hand.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Cobble. And we are going to hear now from Dr. Larry Keating, retired professor from Georgia Tech University, who has done seminal work on the issues of exclusion, housing oppression in this city for the last 25 or 30 years. Larry Keating's work is the basis for our lawsuits. It's the basis for our knowing the history of this city and the history of the private sector controlling the public space and public policy. Let's hear from Dr. Larry Keating. Thank you.
We've seen this act before.
Yep.
We've seen this act before many, many times. For over 60 years, Central area businesses have been trying to expel, displace, run off low-income people, and especially low-income black people. In 1946, Central Atlanta Progress and the City of Atlanta hired a consultant, a traffic planning consultant. There was no interstate highway system then, but they were planning what they were going to do when the Fed bucks started flowing. The consultant was a big Chicago consultant, DeLu Cather. The consultant said, take the downtown connector and run it down on the west side of town. That's mostly old industrial stuff. It's fading away. It's obsolete. You won't have to displace a lot of people. That's not where the downtown connector ended up. Central Area Improvement Association, which was Central Atlanta Progress's predecessor, and the city moved that consultant's recommendation to put the downtown connector on the east side of town. Why? You could build a buffer between downtown and low-income black neighborhoods. Why? You could build a buffer between low-income black neighborhoods and downtown. You could push out toward the east and make a bigger area for downtown expansion. You could get rid of part of the neighborhoods, the poor black neighborhoods that live next to downtown.
Right, yes.
I'm a planning historian, and I usually talk for an hour and a half. I'm not going to do that this afternoon. But I can bring you forward in time from 1946 through a whole litany of continuous assaults on low-income black people in this town, in this city, in the central area. Urban renewal, which is widely known as Negro removal, cleared 22,000 homes, 68,000 people. That sounds like South Africa.
Yes.
Downtown businesses, small businesses that served the people who rode the maids buses up to the north side and who came back downtown to catch a bus to go back to their neighborhoods, their black neighborhoods. Well, all those businesses got pushed out. They got pushed out because they tricked around the transfer system. They're gone. They were replaced in a modest way by street vendors. We know what's happening now. You can ride around Woodruff Park. There's fancy, slick, brass-plated vending kiosks that no current vendor, no current street vendor can afford. This is the same story, and it has been the same story, and it's time that it stopped.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Keating. Dr. Keating's research and his written work, his books are published. We all need to read them and memorize the facts and the information and the history of this city as we go forward to reclaim our city from the greed and the control of the private downtown development community and Central Atlanta Progress. We did not elect them to run this city. They did not run for office in this city. They have bought control with money and politicians who have been for sale for years. We need to take that control back. And the only way we can do that is with our bodies and our lives and our faith and our belief that this property belongs to us. It belongs to the people who need it and the people who have lived here and the people who will need it. And until there's nobody else who needs this place as sanctuary for hospitality, we will remain here no matter what. And now we want to, thank you, we want to hear from Brother Kenneth, who is a young man who's taken orders in the Episcopal Church and has brought his body and his brothers to stand with us in solidarity. Brother Kenneth Hosley.
God's peace and blessings to you all. I stand between many boundaries. I'm a privileged white boy that grew up in Atlanta and went to private school. I am a business manager in Buckhead. I am a vowed religious within our church. And I am now an advocate for the homeless. But that only started 3 weeks ago when I first visited Peachtree-Pines. Until that point, when I was a resident in Buckhead, when I was a resident in Midtown, I heard how bad this neighborhood was. I heard about the crime, I heard about the panhandlers, and I heard about those awful dregs that were down here. And then I came down and saw the face of God personally. And I know that each and every one of those slanders are lies. For all my religious out there, I remember in my history lesson in the 50s when the north face was blown off a synagogue because of the KKK. And I know how there were riots up and down this street with beatings in the 60s during the Civil Rights Movement. And I know how the residents around Morehouse and Clark used to be lily white. And now Atlanta has pushed its black population from one corner to the next. And as much as they want to ignore it, this is a racist issue. This is what it's about, because that has been the problem in Atlanta. When Grady created a new South in the 1880s, he wanted a unified city. And his short death allowed that to overturn in a heartbeat. And that has been the plague of this city ever since. And for our churches that come here to give food, those that come here to give help, we are giving our support. But now they need more than food. I now call for the synagogues. I call for the temples. I call for the churches. Shema Israel. They said, love one another as you would have them love you. My Christ said, treat one another as you would have them treat you. The hadith of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, treat one another as you would have them treat you. And in the Vedas and in the Buddhist writings, they say the exact same thing. And this is about humanity. For a city to stop funding and then blame an organization for not having funds is absurd. Right. To have an administrator on this city government that asked for the forced sterilization of its homeless is inhumane. And that is on deposition. That's on file, and yet the city still operates that way. If we are called by God, if we are called by human beings to look out for one another, then this is where we should be. This is where my brothers and sisters are, and we give our help and we give our lives. I now call to all the religious, all our churches, all our synagogues. If you want to live up to your command, then be here, because this is the face of God. God's peace to you all.
Amen to Brother Kenneth, and thank you for your courage and your witness. And now let me ask another former resident of Peachtree-Pine, Steve Merritt, to come forward and say a word. Steve? Go Steve.
You know, it's been said that this place doesn't do anything for people, just house them. When I came here almost 4 years ago, I didn't have anything. I had a bag of clothes. When I left this place, I bought a house. I have my own house now, and I have a mortgage. And this place is wonderful. They saved my life. And I just wanted to come show my support for them. If it wasn't for them, I don't know where I'd be right now.
You hear that we warehouse people at Peachtree-Pine. And what we do is watch lives change, because people get to control their own lives here. And everybody who stays here takes responsibility for the operation of this place. We do it together as a community. It's ragged, it's democratic, and it's blessed of God. And there's never been a more exciting process that I've been lucky enough to be part of. Let me also ask Dr. Deirdre Oakley to come forward Dr. Oakley did a study and got involved with the issue of the demolition of 3,200 units of occupied public housing. Occupied public housing, 3,200 units with 9,600 human beings living and working in those units. The downtown business community decided they wanted that property because it is very near to the beltway, the beltline. And so those properties were emptied out, people were scattered across the metro area, and Dr. Oakley and her colleagues did a study of where they went. She just went to Congress a week ago and testified about her study to a committee that is investigating legislation that will protect us and has the potential of restoring those destroyed units. Dr. Oakley.
Thank you, everybody. First, I want to acknowledge some former public housing residents that are here. Shirley Hightower, Diane Wright, and Sister Elaine Osby, who lives in Cosby Spears, a senior high-rise that is currently not slated for demolition. I want to talk to you about Washington. Maxine Waters and Barney Frank have a couple of proposed legislation issues on the boards that would preserve public housing and call for one-for-one replacement for all demolished units.
Yeah.
That's great, but it's too late for Atlanta. So where are all the people going to go who don't have that last resort housing? What we found in our study when we asked people why they were in public housing in the first place, they all said because it was the most affordable or the only affordable option that they had. So as people come on hard times now, with the economy being what it is, where will they go? And now that the task force is being threatened and may have to close down, where will the people who couldn't get public housing go when they come here to get shelter? The safety net in this city will be gone unless we do something about it. And I'd also like to say I'd like to know where Mayor Reed is on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Oakley. We know that Mayor Reed has retained his homelessness czar so far, and so the indications haven't been positive, but we still can give him a chance. We need to hear. You're absolutely right. Now let us ask our new board chairman, B. Wardlaw, and our vice chairman, who's been on this board for the last 15 years, Myrtle Davis, to come forward. We want to hear their words of encouragement to us. B. Wardlaw, the new board chair, and the major donor who made our acquisition of this building possible. B. and Myrtle Davis.
Certainly defer to Myrtle to begin with.
It's very hard to come after so many eloquent speakers have spoken. But I would like, since the press is here, and the press has always given Peachtree-Pine a bad name, without ever having gone into the building, to see what was being provided here. We have been called a warehouse of people. That is not true. I can tell you over the last 15 years it's been a struggle, because it's about that time that the whole conspiracy started to remove every bit of funding that we have and then to say you can't pay your bills. Is that fair? Is that justice? No. Today, I hope, is the turning point for Peachtree-Pine.
Yes. Yes.
And I think with your support, your being here, you're letting us know how you feel. Goes a long way in our struggle of trying to keep the doors open.
Yes, ma'am.
So please bear with us. We may have some difficult days ahead. But if we remain strong and we work together, anything can be accomplished with God's help. Thank you all for being here today.
Well, as Anita's just said, I've been elected the new board chair at the Task Force for the Homeless. I want to tell you this has been a grueling campaign. I've had to put out, like all politicians. There we go. Will that work? That works? Okay. Because I want to be perfectly clear about this. If I look exhausted, in this campaign I've had to put out at least, like all politicians, a couple of $100 million in bribes in order to be elected to the board, a chair of the board of the task force. So I'm looking for somebody. If there's anybody looking for a job as like a secretary who's really knowledgeable of how to conceal crimes and the truth and all of that, there must be somebody here that can do that for me, wouldn't you think? Well, maybe so. Okay. Anyway, I do have also a prepared statement. When dust settles from this Battle of Atlanta, the community here at the Pine will be essentially the same. The city of Atlanta will never be the same. I hope you've read the details of the fair housing and civil rights lawsuits, the fair housing suit filed just on May the 6th, so if you haven't, please do so now, against this city that has been so terribly mismanaged for so many years. And mismanaged is, of course, far too weak a word. The powers that be in Atlanta have determined through intentional public policy that at least one woman, man, or child will die on the average once a week here in our city. Our city. This is our city. That to us at the task force has never been acceptable. So we, the people of Atlanta, who do more than pay lip service to concepts of equality, human rights, and compassion, are seeing to it that the old Atlanta power structure is set to take a fall that will be heard around the world. Yeah. As for Atlanta's Task Force for the Homeless in the community here, we may be sounding somewhat litigious to some of you at this point, but actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the only other time we've taken this Atlanta power structure into court was in 1996, after the city had made 9,000 arrests of homeless people in its efforts to sanitize, they use the word, sanitize the Peachtree corridor before the Olympics. Yes. We won that suit. We won that suit. We stopped the arrests that were unconstitutional, and 2 days before the opening ceremony of the Olympics, word about Atlanta's cruelty raced literally around the world. And the task force at that time was marked for extinction. Yep. As you can see, 15 years later, we're still here. And we'll be here as long as we're needed. A couple of days ago, an Atlanta newspaper, under a photograph of the building, printed this revealing misunderstanding of what the Battle of Atlanta is all about. Quote, "The city's largest homeless shelter is fighting an uphill battle to hold on to its valuable real estate." Now, I don't know. I think the writer confused us with Central Atlanta Progress maybe at that time. I'm sure that as members of our community will tell you, this battle is not about real estate. It's about saving the community at Peachtree-Pine and about changing the way Atlanta does business. For 13 years, we have heard promises that all of Atlanta's people who are homeless will be cared for. It's never happened, and there's no sign whatsoever that those who are now making the promises have any intention of following through, except by creating more jails and private prisons to accommodate a 21st century form of slavery. I think of the Native Americans here in closing, the Native Americans who were always lied to, cheated, and being told that someone else owned their land. The building at Peachtree-Pine belongs to the community at Peachtree-Pine and will remain so. Thank you.
I want to ask Diane Mathewitz with the International Action Center and with every cause that matters to justice and to the rights of people, civil rights, human rights, to come forward. Diane has been absolutely the most faithful partner to us and to all of the groups who fight daily, 24 hours a day, every single day, for justice in this city. Diane Mathewitz.
Thank you so much. I want to just mention that there are many, many organizations here. And that's important to know for the people who are doing the filming. You should know that Peachtree-Pine is not an isolated, all by itself. That we have people here who fight against the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the Georgia Peace and Justice Coalition. That we have people here from many of the different churches that have already been mentioned. We have people here from the Hunger Coalition. We have people here from the Grady Coalition. We have students here. We have people here from the lesbian, gay, bi, and trans community. We have people from every kind of group in this city because they recognize that the task force, unlike others, does not regard taking care of the needs of poor people as some sort of charity, some sort of arrogant kind of feel-good activity. The reason the task force is so dear to all of us who are in the struggle for justice is because the task force understands that homelessness comes from a systemic injustice. That's right. That because wages are not livable, because houses are not affordable, because health care is not provided to everyone. That's right. All these, because education costs a fortune. That's right. All these are the reasons that people end up without a home. And all of these are the reasons that we have all joined together to fight together, to change a system which puts profits over people, which regards every need that we have as some commodity that should be bought for the highest price. And so that's why it's so important that we take a stand here at Peachtree and Pine, because it's a recognition of the validity of all our struggles for justice. If people who have already been foreclosed on, have been evicted from homes, who have lost jobs, who have no health care, if they can be treated and kicked to the curb, then that says that this society has gone to the deepest depths. And we all need to stand together to rise up, and stop this injustice. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. She is a mentor for many of us. I want to ask Troy Harris to come forward. Please. Yay, Troy. Troy Harris is a former resident of Peachtree-Pine. He spent many years as an employee after he was a resident in charge of our wonderful internet, our database process, our life online. Troy was the man. Now he lives with his family and comes back to help us out of the goodness of his heart and his commitment. And we cannot end this without hearing from Troy. But before that, one second. Matthew Cardinale is here from the Atlanta Progressive News. I want everybody to understand, and most of us know, that we get our news online from the Atlanta Progressive News. Matthew is the only independent voice, progressive voice for the people in this city. He is the only mechanism for us to hear the truth from day to day about the issues that are so oppressive in our city. We are lucky to have Matthew, who, by the way, I'm sure would not mind my saying that he is a formerly homeless college student. That's where we met many years ago when he was about 12. And we thank him for his witness and his absolutely unique and glorious coverage. Yes, you can say something. Come on. All right.
Hi. I have a question. If you can't make your rent payment next month, where are you going? Nowhere. Where are you guys over there? Where are you going? Nowhere. Are you going to the Gateway Center? No. No. What people need to understand is that the service that this shelter provides is not provided anywhere else. The Gateway Center, which is supposed to be, you know, the model, this was embraced by Shirley Franklin and the business community. They have limits to how many people they will serve. They have criteria that limit who they will serve. Have you seen it? It's behind barbed wire. I wouldn't want to go in there. And so therefore, there are many people who have nowhere else to go. There are other shelters that may be full. This is the shelter that will take everyone who has nowhere else to go and won't set criteria. You have to meet this criteria in order to come in here. And so that's very important. There are thousands of people who rely on this shelter. Homelessness is, you know, it's not just chronic, it's episodic. So people can come here, you know, and then get back on their feet. When we lose this resource, we are really losing, you know, not just the people who are here now, the hundreds of people, but literally thousands of people who rely on this. As people have said, we have insufficient affordable housing, and you know, Anita has made it a point over the years, and I don't think people realize that Anita was like the original champion for the homeless, and 20, 30 years, and she has. I mean, the money, the grant money actually used to come through the task force and be dispersed out before the city tried to take that over. But the fact is that Anita insists that the cause of homelessness is not a personal defect. It is not, oh, you know, they just can't get themselves together. They just, you know, they have personal behavioral issues, drug problems, whatever. You know, there's a lot of people who do have housing who have behavioral issues and drug problems. So, you know, Anita's point is that this is a structural issue dealing with the lack of affordable housing. The task force embraces advocacy as well as service. And that, I think people need to know, that is the reason that they have been attacked. Not only because the business community is not so excited about having poor black people on this street, but also because the task force has spoken up over the panhandling ban, the crackdown on the homeless during the Olympics, the demolition of public housing, the privatization of gravy. That's what they looked at it like, it was gravy. The privatization of Grady, you know, the crackdown on Woodruff Park, all these things, and that's why they're being attacked today. And the war on the poor. And the war on the poor, all those things. So that's why they want to that's why they wanted to get rid of the task force. The coverage, I encourage people to go to atlantaprogressivenews.com. We have covered the depths of what's going on with this conspiracy. And I mean, people need to know private donors were approached, public agencies were approached, the people who originally owned the loans on this building were approached. It was a conspiracy, a documented conspiracy involving city officials and Central Atlanta Progress. Debbie Starnes was getting paid from a downtown hotel in Central Atlanta Progress and then turning around and trying to get rid of the task force. Being the homelessness czar, directing money away from the task force, working for the United Way, which was funneling that money, which was benefiting from the funds since they weren't going to the task force. Where else were they going? This was like a quadruple conflict of interest, and she was a consultant, a private consultant on the side, advising homeless service agencies how to get money and do program evaluation. Quadruple conflict of interest. So I encourage people to look at this. I don't use the word conspiracy lightly because you kind of have to have emails and stuff like saying, here's the plan, guys. Those exist. So, you know, I encourage people to look at the evidence. This is very serious. This has been a concerted effort. But I want people to also, as I said in the beginning, think about where else are you going if you're going to be homeless tomorrow. This isn't just about the people who are here. This is about all of us. And this is about saying that housing is a human right. We have to have housing. And therefore, this place is absolutely so fundamental. They want, the right to housing to be dependent on whether you have the money to afford it. And we're saying no. This place, I have a different vision, and that's their vision. And people need to see the coffee shop. People need to visualize the retail shop. They want to empower people. They have a master plan, okay? But that the money for the master plan was taken away. Yeah. This building right here could actually be really not only a service provider, but a retail shop. They want to have more sustainable housing units, independent housing units. The plans for this building that they have dreamt up are very compelling. And so we just hope also that the city will restore the funding for the task force so that they can pursue those wonderful plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. Read AtlantaProgressiveNews.com. And also check out Dr. Jim Beatty at WordPress.com. Dr. Jim Beatty's blog is quite fascinating reading, and you can keep up with this lawsuit on his blog. Thank you. Now let me ask Troy Harris, the former resident and one of our most encouraging, committed, and intelligent supporters, a member of the family at Peachtree-Pine, to send us out.
Anita was being extra nice. 2 or 3 of those qualities are mine. The one thing that that wasn't said, that I didn't hear, is about this unconditional love that Anita Beatty has shown each and every person who is out here today. No, there's no question about that. It's the one part of the formula that doesn't get spoken about. You can't put in a grant. Because I'm a son and daughter of the city of Atlanta. I'm a son of the city of Atlanta. I've worked, I've hustled, I've done everything you can do in this city, and I've volunteered, I've helped at Atlanta Union Mission, I've fed men, I've fed women, I've clothed people. But when the day came that I needed the same help, I canvassed the city. I made the phone calls. I've been to and fro, and I received an ounce of help. But the person who accepted me, who said, it doesn't matter what's wrong with you. It doesn't matter about your situation. It doesn't matter what happened. Come on in. Come in out the rain is what we call it.
Amen. That's right.
Coming in out the rain.
That's what she did for me.
Was Anita Beatty. So to say that this place could possibly not be here is outside of the realm of possibility. It is outside of the realm of possibility. It is not possible that this could not be here one day. The men and the women that we have served over the years have all been sons and daughters of the citizens of this city. Why is nobody at City Hall missing a cousin, an uncle, a brother, a grandson? Who are these men? Who are the men that we're talking about? Because I'm one of the men. So who are we talking about? Each man here deserves a level of dignity and respect.
That's right.
Despite this situation, despite the feeling that you have in your heart. Because I've gone through the homeless process, and just before I lost my place, that feeling that I had inside of me, that terrible trembling, that terrible fear about what would happen to me, is the same feeling that might be going on today. So I want to encourage my brothers to shore up yourselves. Stand on principle. Stand on faith. Stand on the Word of God today. Today. Don't allow the possibility to even exist in your minds. Carry yourselves with dignity. Speak to all men. Speak favorably. Because I think some kind of way I was reminded of this yesterday by Valerie Dawson over here. Another another spiritual mentor. You don't think you need them, but you need them. Somebody, when you don't believe, somebody who says, wait a minute, what have we been working on all this time? What have we been working on all this time? Who are you? She reinformed to me that I had seen Peachtree-Pine in a different light, and that it was slipping away from me what it had done for me, and I was starting to begin to give foreclosure more power than staying being rooted, being here. And she reminded me that, Troy, don't slip now, because if you ever needed faith, this is when you need it. And so I'm going to pass that message on to everybody here today. Whether you're affected, you think you're not affected, but you're affected one way or another, and we appreciate you being out here. But we need faith power today. We need for people to believe in the impossible today.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay? If it's in you, it's in you. Just search your heart. You might not have it right now, this moment, but by the end of the day, you could work it out. But have this faith power. I'm asking you to do this because we're doing everything else on the other side. We've got a great group of lawyers. We've got all kinds of friends. We got all kind of help. We got the support system that we need.
Yes, that's right.
We got it all.
Yeah, that's right.
You hear me?
Yeah.
So the faith power is what we're going to add to that today. I want you all to be blessed. I want you to know that every success that I have on a daily basis is shared by all of you.
Yeah.
Because when I wasn't feeling great, when I didn't have MARTA card money, there were men here. And they know I'm not lying. There are men here who said, we'll get you there.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll carry you on our backs. We'll take you the rest of the way. So the truth is, the task force is the most excellent community in the city. Yeah. The most excellent community. It's the truth. Sometimes I don't even know that God is at my house. I come here. I come here because I've seen him work on so many occasions in this building. So I leave where I live to come here to make sure that he's still doing what he said he was going to do. Okay? So I know about it. I know about it, and I'm imparting upon you about this place. I know that you know about it. I know that so many angels have been called. So many lawyers. I mean, I think about Lindsay right now. So many people who have just come out of the woodworks to add to what we already are. And then many of you here that I would not be able to call your names today, but I know your faces. I know your faces. And so I just appreciate you. And that's what I want to say, because I think so much of what we do is about that. It's about the love. Right. If you're coming down here just strictly on policy or just to report on our demise, then you need to stay a couple more hours. And get that love in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get the love in you, because we can't save a single person without it.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So that's all I wanted to say, and I just wanted us to be mindful to be on our best behavior. You know, I hate to see us throw a rally and then I got to see blinking lights and police. I hate that. I hate that, because we've never really been about that. We've never been about that. We've never been against the police. We've never wanted to hurt anybody. We've never wanted to break into anything, take anything from anybody. We've only given. That's all we do is we give. And then when we give out, then we give some more. So I hate to see this in this context, but I just want us to be on our best behavior so that when we get blessed, we'll know why. We'll know why. Thank you so much. I love all of you. I love all of you. I love you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we have, before you leave, we have the most important event yet. And let me call attention to Valerie Dawson and Hepzibah James. They are two of the chiefest members of the team who have kept this place going for the last 15 years and do it every single day as volunteers, full-time as volunteers. Yeah. These women are my spiritual mentors. They are my heart. Yeah. And without them, this place would cave in a heartbeat. Now we're going to form that circle around this building now, and what I'm going to do is ask us to do it quickly and in an orderly fashion.
Peachtree-Pine! Being poor is not a crime! Hands up! Peachtree-Pine! Being poor is not a crime! Hands up! Peachtree-Pine! Being poor is not a crime! Being poor is not a crime.